7 rules to activate your love goddess. And before I go into that, what is the love goddess? It's the identity of the version of you who is in the frequency of love. When we're in the frequency of love, that is when we bring in more love into our life, because that's what we are an energetic match to. How do we get into this divine frequency of love? Especially in our day-to-day, or if we've had maybe a past that has scarred the way we view love. Because we ultimately all come into this world through love, but through our upbringing or our experience, that view of love shifts. And sometimes it shifts from love is hard, love is pain, I can't trust love, or love doesn't last. And you see this a lot in shows. I remember when I was watching Love is Blind, I heard that a lot. Like, love is pain, love is sacrifice, like all these heavy things around love. But what if I told you love doesn't have to be those things? Love can actually be, love is freedom, love is peace, love is safe, love is my cozy home, love is ever expanding. Love can be all these beautiful things, but it just comes down to what we want our story to be around love and what frequency we want to be in. Because when we're in love is pain, love is sacrifice, that we're not actually in the frequency of love. We're actually in the frequency of woundedness, I would say, or fear. And I don't know about you, but that's not a frequency I want to be in, because when you're in that frequency, you attract from that frequency. Let's shift out into this world of being a love goddess. Let's dive right in. What is love goddess rule number 1? The number 1 rule is, I want you to visualize you speaking your inner truth as this golden light that guides you through life, and that will help you decipher which partners, which people are an energetic match for you. Your only responsibility is to speak the truth and speak from a place of honesty and vulnerability. Because when you do this, you will automatically attract people that are for you. And let me give you an example. Let's say that, and I'll just use myself. My truth is that I am a very physically affectionate person. I like to essentially be a sloth when it comes to my partner. Imagine them being the branch and then I'm just the sloth that hangs on to them. That is my truth. And that truth might not be for everyone. If there was someone who doesn't like physical touch, they're not going to like my truth. My truth is going to repel them. And sorry, just seeing if I have any comments. And a lot of times we are scared of speaking our truth because we're afraid that we will repel people. But repelling people is a beautiful thing, because then you're making space for the people that are actually for you, that are actually aligned with you. And so if you just stick to this number 1 rule, the easier you will navigate the world and your romantic interests, because you will just easily be able to weed them out. And don't be scared of the truth and how people might respond to that truth, because that truth is essentially that golden light that is guiding you through your path. And the sooner you speak it, and the sooner you gain confidence in that it's safe to express your truth, the sooner you're going to get into a reality that feels good and aligned for you. All right? So you can just easily say goodbye with love to those people that aren't for you when you're speaking from your truth. And another key thing to know about this is standards. A lot of times people settle when it comes to their love life or just their life in general, because they aren't willing to live their truth or be honest with what they actually want. And along with speaking your truth, you need to speak your standards and hold on to your standards. That means not sacrificing your boundaries. If you have a standard of, hey, I know I want a family, so I'm not gonna date anyone who doesn't want a family. That is you holding on to your standards. And if you meet someone who checks all the boxes, but it's just that one thing, you're not gonna fold and decide, like, well, I'm going to make an exception because there's all these great things about them. Because when you do that, you're abandoning yourself, you're abandoning your standards. And that's not the way of the love goddess. And so now, rule number 2, you nurture your wounds with love. You understand that there's a human part of you that is wounded, and your higher self does not avoid or neglect those parts of you, because you know that in order to pour love into others, you also need to pour love into those parts of you. You don't run away from pain. It's specifically pain that you are carrying, not that you, like, let's say someone is going to bring you a lot of pain. You don't welcome them with open arms. We're talking about the pain that you're carrying yourself. You are open to hugging that side of you and pouring in love. You don't just shove it to the side and be like, we're just going to ignore this because if we ignore this, maybe it'll go away. Because that's not how it works. It'll just get louder and creep into all these different areas of your life. I want you to visualize an infestation in your house. When you ignore it or try to avoid it, it's not going to go away. It's actually going to get bigger and it's going to spread. And that's what happens to those wounded part of us. The more we avoid it and the more we ignore it, the more it spreads into different parts of our lives, and the stronger hold it gets. And the love goddess knows that the way is the truth. The way of choosing love is the truth. And so it's giving those parts of us love and still being in a place of power, or that you are an amazing person and you have all these amazing things about you, but you can also acknowledge that wounded human part of you, because we're all human and we all have our wounds. And that's not something that, unless you are, there's just no way to not have wounds. And it's completely okay. Because I feel like oftentimes people just go into a state of avoidance, thinking that, well, if I just pretend it's not there, then I'm perfect. Everything's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. And that's another thing. I sometimes see that people feel like if they acknowledge those parts of them, they feel like there's something wrong with them. And that's not the case. You're just part of the human experience. And it's through hugging those parts of you that you grow, and you're also able to have deeper empathy for others. Just see that as part of being human. And a part of being an elevated human is giving those parts of us love. And then that leads us to goddess rule number 3, which is she isn't afraid of her emotions. She welcomes them with open arms and knows that they are a portal of information into her inner world. And I just need to quickly take water because right now I'm listening to my body and what it needs. When it comes to our emotions, I feel like emotions have been another thing that has been neglected a lot, where people see emotions as, well, if I feel my emotions, I'm weak, or I'll be manipulated, or they're just bad. And emotions are actually a very beautiful portal into what's going on in our internal system. Emotions are just simply information of what's going on in here, because, like, if you think about it, how else are you going to know what's going on inside of you? If you really think about it, there's literally no other way but through your emotions. And I want you to think of a car. The only way for you to know that there's something wrong with your, let's say, your engine or your tires, is when the car gives you a signal. One of the little signal things lights up. I want you to see that as your emotions. That is your emotion. When you experience an emotion, it's your body giving you a signal like, hey, this is going on. And so when it comes to your car, what happens when you ignore that? You maybe get in a flat tire, or even worse, like you can get into an accident due to a flat tire, or your car can just shut down if there's something wrong with the engine. And the same thing with emotions. The more we ignore them and the more we keep them in, it comes out in different ways. Sometimes it can be illnesses, or developing a really just bad habit or lashing out at people, because your emotions are energy. And if your energy is, there's no way of releasing it, it's going to come out in different ways. And so the love goddess knows that emotions are simply the portal of information. And she doesn't deal with all that bullshit of having the car break down and or getting a flat tire, because when the light comes on, she acknowledges it and she takes care of it. She's not going to deal with all that other stuff. Sorry, I have allergies, so right now I can't really breathe through my nose, only my mouth, so I get dehydrated very easily. Just know I'm going to be drinking a lot of water throughout this. So I hope it's not too distracting, but something I need. All right. Love goddess rule number 5. Which one was I on? Was I on 3? I got distracted by the water. I think I was on 4. All right. Well, rule number 4. Your vulnerability is your greatest strength. And you never fear conflict because you know how to wield your power of vulnerability. Because vulnerability is ultimately how we connect to others. And let me give you an example. When it comes to conflict, oftentimes I've heard people say this, but when it comes to conflict, they see it as fighting with someone else. When conflict is meant to be a way for us to understand each other more and to be able to co-create a middle ground or a way of seeing one another, getting to know one another better. Because conflict arises when there is a mismatch of something, if you want to see it in the positive lens. And a way to disarm people whenever if we don't speak through a place of vulnerability, oftentimes people get defensive, like they need to protect themselves, because whenever you're speaking in conflict, a lot of times there's just a focus of, you did this wrong, or sorry, I need a snack. My blood sugar is going down. Give me 1 minute to get some nuts and I'll be right back. Thank you for allowing me that quick break. Sorry. All right. And another thing, love goddesses know that you need to honor your body. Me taking that little break during my life helps my body stay up and my mind stay sharp. Always acknowledge your needs and don't violate your boundaries. For example, me not eating those nuts would be violating my boundaries because I was getting very lightheaded. That's something that you need to embody. Always take care of you, because nobody is going to take better care of you than you. That's very important to keep in mind. And it's in the little ways that we violate our boundaries sometimes. And so it's even the little ways that you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And where was I? Talking about vulnerability. Vulnerability is similar to emotions, where I have found people see vulnerability as a way of being weak, or a way of, when you're vulnerable, then other people can manipulate you or take advantage of the things that you say, or just see you in a bad light. And vulnerability is actually courage, because when you're vulnerable, you're allowing other people to see all the parts of you, the true parts of you. And that's what leads to connection. And so if you want to be a love goddess, you know that that is a portal to connection, being vulnerable. And because you are also comfortable with your boundaries, because if you have strong standards, you also have strong boundaries. You know that you can be vulnerable and still have boundaries with folks, where if you do share something and they're not respectful, you can set a boundary and let them know, like, hey, I was expressing something that was really important to me and I felt like you dismissed that, because you're also comfortable speaking your truth. And so when you abide or you follow all these rules, you're creating a very powerful, soft, vulnerable identity that is in the frequency of love. Because one thing I also find is folks, and I was one of them, sometimes when it comes to love, the way we view love is being self-sacrificial or putting other people's needs before our own. And that is not the way of healthy love. You want to take your needs first into consideration while still taking other people's needs, but you don't abandon yourself. And so by having strong boundaries, strong standards, speaking your truth, being comfortable with your emotions, and being comfortable with vulnerability, that's you putting yourself first. I want you to remember that. And now next is goddess rule number 5. Your authenticity is your light. And I want you to think of when you see someone perform and they're just like fully immersed and into it, it's just, you can't help but smile and just see their light radiate. And I had this experience when I was in Cabo. They were doing, they're having this like musical festival and folks were singing, and there's this guy who just really put his all into what he was singing, and I got goosebumps because you can really feel it when people are just completely immersed in something that they love and they're just so passionate that they just let go of everything. They let go of their fears of judgment, their fears of am I good enough, or their fears of what will people think of me. Literally, like they've gotten some big pair of scissors and cut off all those BS when it comes to fear and just completely showing up like bare naked like themselves and their joy. That is the power of authenticity. It's like bare naked ass joy. That's the way I see it. And it's just you just fully being you. No matter what that looks like, no matter if because you being you is completely fine. And you're not afraid to shine your light. That is a really big key. And next, rule number 6, being fun and playful elevates your situations. This allows any mundane situation to become more of an experience because you connect with your senses. When you're being playful, you are connected to your creativity and you're making things fun and you're connected to your inner child. And you remove all pressure, you remove all expectations, and your primary focus is to just how can I enjoy myself while I'm doing this? And that is rule number 6. And then rule number 7, you are aware that you are creating your reality. You choose the frequency of love instead of fear of reactivity. And this is going to be a really big one. When you step into your day to day, whether you're in a relationship, single or married, when you're interacting with your partner or a potential partner or your husband, wife, are you choosing the reality of love or are you choosing the reality of reactivity and fear? When your partner comes in, or let's start with my single people. When you go on a date, do you go in thinking I'm going to have the best time? So you're choosing the frequency of love? Or are you going in thinking, what will this person think of me? Will this date go well? Because the first one is in the frequency of love, and the second one is in the frequency of fear, because you're just thinking about all these negative things. And then you're going to react based off of those things. Maybe you might not feel or be as confident. You might not be as open. You might not have as much fun if you're just in your head. If you take anything away from these 7 rules, the biggest one is going to be number 7. If you've watched this video till the end, I want you today start coming from that place, that mindfulness of, am I going to act from a place of love or am I going to act from a place of reactivity and fear? And just see how much your day changes just based off that minor change in the state of your mind. Because when we're choosing a different energy, we're also going to be experiencing a different energy. And our outer world is going to be mirroring that back to us. I want you to do that and then message me or share in the comments what your experience was. And if you're interested in a part 2, I will be doing a love audit. When it comes to your love goddess, this is the identity that we step into. And what I went over are some of the ways of being that you embody in your day to day. And what I want to help you explore is, in terms of where you are now, what parts of your life is your energy leaking when it comes to love? If you're interested in that, I will be offering a 30-minute session where we will be going through that. And for my folks who watched this today, just message me part 2 and I can set that up. And every day, I want to reward my action takers because Action takers are the folks that actually bring change into their life, that are actually care about elevating their life. I want to reward you by giving you the best deal. Today, if you message me, this will be a complimentary gift. And then starting each day, it will be going up by $7 until it goes up to $70 for this offer. If you contact me tomorrow, like, hey, I'm interested in part 2, can we do some energetic leaks or an audit of my energetic leaks? Of course, it's going to be $7. If you contact me 2 days from now, it's going to be 14, and so forth. Got it? Even if you're, so this is for everyone, single, coupled, or married. This is to help you step into that identity of being a love goddess and bringing more love into your life. So it doesn't matter if you're coupled or uncoupled. If this sounds good to you and this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, send me a DM, just send me part 2, and we'll take it from there.